What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Ripple Effect with Soria. I'm your host, Armando Soria. As always, just a quick reminder, if you find any value on the show, please do us a huge favor and share it. This helps us grow, helps us get more listeners, which in turn will let us and allow us to make a bigger impact within our community. Today, I am very, very excited to introduce my next guest. My next guest is a father, a husband, and the founder of the MaxFit Empire.
That's cool.
Empire.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, for sure.
And that is Kris Spencer. Kris, what's up, man?
Not much. I really appreciate you having me here today. I'm humble and honored to be here. Like how you set that up. First and foremost, family first, as always. You know, in my business journey, I really firmly believe that it wasn't until that I established a family, had an amazing wife, Carla, that things really took place for me. So, like, if we're talking about entrepreneurial journey that I've been on, the family has been a key element of the journey.
That's awesome, man.
So
I feel that. Literally, my skin's tightening hearing you say that, because as a young business owner myself, going through the journey, I'm quickly learning how important that.
Yeah, so take it from an old business owner.
There we go, and we'll get into your experience.
Yes, sir.
While we're talking about it, why don't we start with family? So you're married to Carla.
Carla Spencer, yeah, she's
awesome.
She's an executive at Salinas Memorial Hospital. Have a 14-year-old son, Brendan, a 12-year-old son, Gavin.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that you guys just recently celebrated an anniversary, right?
We did, yeah. 15 years together. Pretty amazing.
Yeah,
so.
Congratulations. It's pretty cool. A couple similarities here. My wife is a labor and delivery nurse at Salinas Valley Health.
Oh, okay.
And I believe she actually knows your wife.
I should get the name of the hospital right too, right?
Oh, yeah.
They rebranded,
it's
right?
the rebranding,
yeah.
right?
Everybody has to do it. Right?
I rebranded last year, actually. So there's that. But yeah, so I'm married to a labor and delivery nurse, and
which I think is a kinder, gentler, more understanding, compassionate type of person, and I think you're blessed because my wife's a nurse as well. Yeah.
Blessed, absolutely. And yes, compassionate and all of the above, and something that and
an extra layer of delivery and bringing human beings into the world. That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty powerful, and all my respects to her and yours.
Sure.
And we have two daughters,
awesome.
10 and 8. So
cool.
The two boys, married to nurses,
taking care, populating the earth.
That's it.
That's doing our thing.
Doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Right? And we'll touch on family a little bit more as we go on. But
Absolutely.
what I like to do is I introduced it as the MaxFit Empire, and the reason why is because there's some verticals along the journey that you've expanded on.
Yeah.
Can we start with the beginning? Tell us about how you got started with MaxFit and kind of take it from there.
Yeah, so it's actually it's not an overnight success anywhere, shape, or form. I started, actually, I'm from Aptos or Capitolis, Corlitas.
Awesome.
Come from a broken home. So one of my parents was in Watsonville, Corlitas area. My mother lived in kind of Rio Del Mar, Aptos area. So I actually grew up, it's pretty traumatic, separation. And so I was lost for a lot of years. We mentioned skateboarding before we got on here. Didn't really care about anything else but skateboarding. I had no real desires to go to college. Almost cynical way of looking at the world. And so I roamed the streets, early on, just kind of, not getting in major trouble, but drinking early on, 13 years old, drinking 40 ounces and, hanging under underpasses and skateboarding. And that's all I cared about. So after having some years of kind of like lost years, I like to call them. And nothing's really lost because you're learning along the way. But I ended up getting, connected. I started going to church, to be honest with you. And then we, some of the guys I was hanging out with actually, started getting harder drugs. So I kind of like two roads diverged. I went one way and they went the other way. And I think, unfortunately, one of them's dead, my good friends. And the other one kind of like has lost his mental faculties from taking the wrong substances. And I started going to church, and then I ended up moving to Europe. Started working out over in Switzerland where I lived. Hitchhiked around the world for a year, and sometimes didn't eat for a week, but it was kind of like the best of times. It was the worst of times, but what it taught me to do was never quit. And I wasn't coming home no matter what. A couple times I completely ran out of money, and was able to like procure a job, clean hotel rooms, wash dishes, refund my trip, and then get down the road. So there was this really early experiences of survival. And it gave me a bigger world perspective than just like Santa Cruz, California.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought that was the center of the universe, right? There's nothing
right.
cooler than Santa Cruz. I still like the place, but I think it's a big world. And,
absolutely.
There's a lot of different characters out there. So you asked me about the journey. That's part of it. I ended up starting to working out after I came back from Europe. Provided me a ton of structure and discipline that I completely lacked in my life.
Sure.
That structure and discipline led me to working at a supplement store in the same time that I was working with developmentally disabled kids here in Salinas. So I'd commute to Salinas, drive back home to Santa Cruz, work after hours at a nutrition store. Years went on, and then the owner of that store, him and I opened a store out here in Salinas together. He lasted a year and then split, and it's been like kind of on my own since about 2004. So we're pushing almost 20 years of doing this, right?
And that's awesome. Yeah, that's a lot to unpack.
So I can keep unpacking it for you, man.
Absolutely, if you don't mind.
So we opened, like I said, we opened a store. It was actually a franchise, similar name, but different. It was a franchise where we were paying like a legacy franchise, a monthly service fee. We're locked into buying their products, having to sell their products, approved products, et cetera. And then, obviously we had to pay royalties that supposedly went to marketing and et cetera. So after the guy left, I tried to continue on with this franchise. We were kind of like a sinking ship. So by default, we lost the franchise. And then I was kind of, again, at another fork in the road in my life, quit being an entrepreneur, which I wasn't very good at the time.
Sure.
Or continue marching on and having to separate from this franchise and completely start on my own, meaning like, there's no products. There's no products. I have to go find wholesalers. There's no clothing catalog to order, the brand's apparel. I have to, do contract manufacturing with local printers, et cetera. So, not really like being a great employee for anybody else at that point. I decided to continue on. So, it was like a decade of like really miring in mediocrity and below mediocrity and then moving a couple of locations, but I think the main like premise of why we're still here having conversations about business and entrepreneurship is that I never quit, right? Like, just kept showing up to work through the darkest times, like times where I had no money in my account, barely anything to sell, and would still show up to work and try to find a way. Yeah. And by showing up, by default, I always found a way.
Wow.
And not like quitting and like closing the doors. So at our lowest point, like after 2008, we had to close the store, like the store that I thought was like my best performing, the top for me, which is across the street from Gold's Gym in Constitution. I had to close that store, kind of like went down to my last product almost on the shelf.
2008.
This is about 2009, 10, but it was a result of 2008 and mortgage crisis and all that stuff that was involved. So I had I sold my last product, and my wife showed up one day. She's like, dude, let's go home. Turn the key in, and then at that point it was another fork in the road, whether to quit or not. And she's like, I don't care if you keep trying to do it, but let's, because I would have stayed there to the, till the cops came and threw me out. That's the commitment I had to
make it happen.
Yes, exactly. So at that point I got a, opportunity. It was not the greatest opportunity, but we're able to move to it's now In Shape Gym, but it's on North Main Street. It was like a local franchise gym. Pretty big facility. So they rented me a space. It was 400 square feet. It was chain link fence, and I marched on from there.
The cage,
the famous cage. So that there was it was in the back by the loading dock, so you couldn't see us from the street. You really only knew about us.
It's like word of mouth,
and then
or passing by,
and then this beautiful thing called Instagram popped up, and one of my employees, gosh, it's got to be 10 plus years ago, said, hey, start an Instagram account. And you could start promoting your brand on there and putting products on there. So we did, and we just did a post every day, and that's really what got us out, of the hole that I was in, because it was a hole. I had debt, I owed people money, but end of the day, that's another valuable lesson I learned is even when you owe people money, you can keep operating. Just make sure that you call them and you acknowledge your debt every day and say, hey man, if I can only say you owe somebody $5,000, if it's $50 a month, I think any debtor would rather have some sort of money and like forward momentum on that debt than you blowing them off or ghosting them. So, it's like accepting your brutal reality at all times, and then not burying your head in the sand, and then being mindful that there's truckloads of stress that comes along with that debt,
no kidding,
which also like propels you and is that motivation not to get back in that bad situation.
Right.
So
no, that's incredible.
Sure.
And your journey to where you are now, I mean, it's just one. First of all, it just shows the grit and fortitude and the willingness to not give in to the pressure and everything that's coming at you. But it's a story of perseverance is what it is. And that's incredible to hear and very inspiring.
Thank you. And it's funny, like not everyone believes it now, right? Because it looks like from the outside looking at it, it looks a lot different. But there are a lot of characters that have, their characters, meaning like they've been by my side and like, supported me, like there's this guy Slim Sims who does my windows. He's retired from a ag box company. You know, he's a pastor. He keeps money coming in just out of a hobby, and he comes and washes my windows. And
nice. But
he was one of the last guys. I had barely any products. Supported me, bought stuff from me when it really truly was embarrassing. Whereas there's other people came in like no protein and basically talk to my face, right. You're a clown or whatever. So those key people that were around are still around, and I have to always acknowledge that.
That's good.
How important that is. And there were many people, and that's why like no matter whatever happens in Salinas, what anyone's opinion is, because I'm from Santa Cruz, right. Everyone thinks Santa Cruz is the best, whereas like I don't know, I got a lot more support from people in Salinas. I think it's more of a genuine town, and there's genuine people everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know, it's like a unique place where I think people understand struggle and perseverance, because like part of
the culture here, for sure. Yeah, we're in a definitely in a little micro community, little microclimate, little bubble.
So anyone could think whatever they want from the outside looking in, but speaking from somebody who's not necessarily a native, because I'm not. I was born in Santa Cruz, or actually Watsonville. It's not far away, but I'm not a Salinas native.
Yeah, right.
But I've lived here more of my life than I have anywhere else, and I do feel like the community has been good to me, and and I wouldn't have like any of the shops that I had without the people that supported me in my darkest times. So.
Wow, yeah, that's powerful, and there's other there's a lot of good tidbits in there. One that's really stand out to me is something that I'm learning too as I go through my business journey is you have to look at your numbers daily. You have to see where you stand. You got to see, I mean, that dictates everything. I was just talking to our producer, Alex, about that, just having a side conversation. And it's, that's just part of the deal is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fortunately, there's a lot more numbers for me to look at. And back then it consisted of looking at $5 and,
right.
Like, so and that was part of the adjustment as we, hit our stride. And, and a lot of it had to do with, I think a lot of people think the meal prep, they think of meal prep, I think, more than anything. But, there was a time, 8 years ago, we would sell $100,000 a month in just supplements alone. And, the business has changed, and you had mentioned MaxFit Empire. So part of that MaxFit Empire is like we started off selling supplements.
Yeah. And
then I started like, just carrying another guy's meal prep. And he was actually from Modesto. And then that developed into like having our own brand, MaxFit Meals. And then, I had leased this store. Like I had mentioned, I had this 400 square foot cage.
Right.
They actually threw me out. Another fork in the road. They threw me out of In Shape Health Club. Not like aggressively, but they decided they didn't want some Yahoo chain link fence in the back. Right. I can't say they blame them. So they said, give me 2 months, and it was another fork in the road, and I thought I was done then, right? And it turns out like the best thing that ever happened to me, right? So we're sitting here in Old Town Salinas, which is looking great. There's a lot of OGs here like Alex, and but the last 4 or 5 years they put a lot of money into revitalizing it, and and the city has, but I think initially it was people like Alex and a lot of other people that invested way beforehand, and have put energy into it. So into this area. So about 8 years ago, I found a spot on Monterey Street. It was incredibly cheap because like the door was broken.
Yeah.
The glass door was halfway broken into. And, there was a gentleman sleeping in the tent in the common area of the center, but it was affordable. I never thought that like a supplement store was scalable in Old Town. I always thought it was like a dead man zone, but ended up moving here strictly because, the price was affordable for me. And then I moved in and like blood, sweat, and tears, and painted it, and used paint from buddies who are painters, and developed into a whole new business. But the point I was making is that like in the back, there was a kitchen area, and that's where the MaxFit blends kind of availed. It was from this portion of the retail space that I never intended of using, and then now it's like a massive part of our business. 1/3 of our sales are from blends, right? So Empire blends.
Yes.
Do own supplement companies too. MaxFit Meals. We're now shipping food around the country, so there's a lot of different facets to.
Those are those verticals right there.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
MaxFit blends, the MaxFit Meals, and then MaxFit.
We call it the
nutrition.
Lifestyle. Sports nutrition and MaxFit Lifestyle. We're trying to get back into manufacturing apparel and getting it out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And at this point, how many storefronts do you have?
I have 3.
3 locations.
3 locations, yeah. Well, 4 if you consider the web.
Yeah,
the website, because that actually performs as well as one of those locations, and it's growing, and it has a lot more scalability.
Yeah,
because we move food around the whole country. Although we focus on like the West Coast.
Yeah.
Initially, when we started the website and really started putting funding into like marketing outside of Salinas, it was all over the country, which I think it was a mistake. There's enough meat on the bone here in California, Arizona, Oregon, and we could get there quicker without having any shipping issues. And,
Got it.
And so we focused on like retracting a little bit. First we went big, now we retracted, and we're, we basically focus on like all of California, Arizona, Oregon,
nice,
and in areas like Nevada that we can get to quickly. And so we're growing quickly. So there's a lot of moving parts, which, understanding every detail of your business is important. Numbers are, very important. So I agree with your sentiment on that.
That's I'm telling you, man, that's so cool. That's such a awesome journey. So if I may ask, from the move initially into the cage, how long was it before you
5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah. It got pretty bad in the cage too. It was pretty pathetic, really, if you really think about it. But so it's the patheticness of like having one protein went, and I had to fill this cage. So I actually got on the horn with people that industry people that I knew, and got terms, like 30-day, 60-day terms on supplements. So I filled this store up on terms because I didn't have any money. I didn't believe in credit cards at that point. And I do now. I mean, they still scare the heck out of me, as they should anybody. But done right, you can actually make a lot you
can leverage it.
You can go on
if you know
vacations.
What you're doing.
Careful.
Right.
No, you don't want to take too many vacations. Business trips.
There you
go. So I didn't really have any credit. I didn't establish. I was really naive. I wasn't a good businessman at all. So really unsophisticated. So when it came down to it, and I can't say that would have been a great time to put a bunch of debt, but I had good relationships. I had paid my bills. I had kept in good standing with people. Good. Even though if I owed people money, I always communicated, right? So I was able to get terms, and then it was just me, and I grinded, man. So if you came in and like I didn't have something, I can't tell you how many people I could talk into like prepaying, like you have chocolate vanilla strawberry. I really want a chocolate peanut butter. Pay for it today. I'll have it here tomorrow. And that's what I did.
Awesome.
So every day I would had these orders, and these companies have $150 minimums for free shipping. I grinded. So I grinded, and it made this extreme sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Every penny counted. You didn't see the count the pennies. You didn't see the dollars come in mentality, and still have that today. So I think, all these tough struggles had to happen to me to really know the importance of just the ground operations of needing every customer to count, no matter how big we get, because it went from pay 5 people a day, 10 people a day, maybe, if
Yeah.
that, to like, like Salinas down the street, you get like 12, 13,000 visits a month. It's a lot of heads coming through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, now you look at it, it's like, can we service every one of those people like I used to? It's pretty much darn near impossible to have
Right.
like the owner there.
Yeah.
Somebody actually sees that, like the nitty gritty of all the, the basics of like the cash flow coming in, and nor would they care if they, it's not
Right,
their business, right? And I can
Yeah.
understand that wholly, but that's where it comes into being a lot more creative, incentivizing, and higher expectations and training, and
No,
that's what the last 3 or 4 years have really
Awesome.
kind of. So we went from this gray area to like this like massive amount of business that started to come in because of like the momentum, flywheel effect, right?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I'll let you talk.
No,
man.
that's
I'm a pretty
awesome.
talkative guy,
No,
so.
no, I love it, and
Yeah.
and I mean, that's just awesome, and there's a lot of lessons in that and a lot of
Sure.
value in that. So I do
Sure.
appreciate the vulnerability and just the transparency more
Yeah, I
than anything,
mean,
right? Because
yeah.
I mean, just about 20 years in business, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
20 years in business, and then like
3 locations,
Right,
and
yeah.
I mean, it's easy from the outside to just go, oh yeah, but I mean, completely 100% self-made through sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears, boots on the ground. I mean, it's
Sure.
it's incredible. It really
Yeah.
is. It really
Yeah.
is. And congratulations
Thank
to where you
you.
are now and to all the success. And I'm sure there's a lot more coming. And I want to.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Like, because I think every day I wake up dissatisfied, and that might sound bad to some people, but I'm not dissatisfied with my family. I'm dissatisfied as maybe the person like that I started off, and I always feel that there's like the angel and the devil, and I've been someone who's incredibly undisciplined, lazy, lost, and I've been the other guy, or I'm trying to be that other guy every day. So it's like every day he still wakes me up, I got to get to him, and there's certain things that I do throughout the morning. And once I come to work, really, this guy, the more disciplined, the guy who understands every aspect of his life, at least the business side of everything. There's no way to understand every aspect of life because we don't really control the world. I could walk out and get killed tomorrow, but like there's some things like I did have some good role models. Unfortunately, my dad, God rest his soul, was an alcoholic. Had his own path in life, but I did have a grandfather that was an engineer, and my mother would take me around him a lot, and he always had good, good, like, little phrases like, count, you don't count the pennies, you don't see the dollars, or all you can do is keep your side of the road clean. And so now as I age, I default to these sayings because he was a pretty wise guy. Right. So
it sounds like there was a transition. Like when did things kind of, you said that you weren't a good business owner, right? And that you were, but at some point
didn't take shit seriously.
And what was the shift? What was it that started the ripple effect, if you will?
Well, money really
the desperation.
The desperation, and like hitting rock bottom. I think realizing that life isn't, and unfortunately we live in America, man. It's no matter what anybody says, it's land of milk and honey, right? Like,
right.
There's the poorest people are richer than like a lot of people on this planet, and myself back then, and included, just we take it for granted. We assume that every place in the world we go, and there's food in every store, and you can get a square meal at a gas station, right? Like, you're not the best, but like, you're not going to starve to death, man. So there's people literally freaking starve to death, and work 10 times harder than we do. So I think I think it was an epiphany moment. Whoever you want to call it, God, brought me to rock bottom and made me realize every penny counts, and that like life, you're not expect success has got to be earned, and it comes from treating everyone that you run into with respect. Being a man of your word, and then so being like so humbled, having to like really build it back up, and really give a crap about every sale. And how my store is presented, and like that desperation, I started switching stuff around. I started painting. I started creating that deep desire, because I surely did not want to quit, and I wasn't going to quit. So like you always have to honest conversation with yourself. Here we are. I don't want to quit. I'm not quitting. Had many opportunities that most people would have quit. So why am I half halfway doing this.
Right.
Let's go all in. Like,
Yeah.
and I think I had to have a conversation and make an agreement with myself that this is it. And, you know, for me, it was more of a gradual thing. I think, you know, like some people have that conversation really early on in their life. And for me, it took maybe I'm a slow learner or a little more stubborn, or however you want to spin it. But like, it was that point when I really took things seriously. And then it's been to the point where like I consider life as like as serious as a heart attack, really. I mean, meaning like my commitments to people, my commitments to my customer. It's something that weighs heavily on me. And it's not, I understand why people would want to like skirt from this.
Sure.
And just live it. But that actually, you feel 10 times worse. So, so coming from like, I still woke up feeling like even though I was taking the easy route in life, I still didn't like myself. I still didn't.
You still had that awareness.
Still had awareness that I could be doing better, right?
Yeah.
And by fully acknowledging that, like, I have to get up every morning, put on my armor, go to work, and do the best I can to be successful and make my family proud of me, make my kids,
absolutely,
rebuild my family name, because you know where I come from, it wasn't like, unfortunately, like, you know, at least for my father being alcoholic and whatever. So like,
you have to create your own legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Legacy building, and it's important.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says. So, I mean, yeah.
And that's incredible.
Cool.
And you know what's funny? Not funny, but what's great is, so we have a couple blends here.
The famous PB2 glass.
Yeah, this thing's great. And I went to your store this morning to pick up something really cool about MaxFit, is that they also carry some things that are hard to come by. We were drinking some of the First Form energy drinks.
Yeah.
You know, even essential waters kind of.
Sure, with minerals and all that.
Yeah,
pH balance. Yeah.
That's it. It's all important.
Yeah.
So I stopped by this morning, but what really stood out to me, besides the selection that you have in your stores, is the customer service.
Sure.
And that's attributed to the culture that you built.
Sure.
And of course, and not taking away anything from the caliber of people you bring on.
Well, I mean, it's done with intent.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to actually go out and you have to acknowledge that those are the people you want to hire. It's not just filling bodies, because and there's a time and a place for that, right? Like, you have no choice, but there are people that have empathy for other people. That's something I think, because of my early on, experiences in life, I was able to bond with my customers, because you just have empathy, right?
Yeah.
If you're spending your money, you're coming in hard-earned dollars. I owe you some time. I owe you the respect of getting the right thing. So we have to, with intent, find people with the same mindset that actually care about, like, Armando's coming in. It's not extracting money from Armando.
Right.
It's getting, like, number one, clean smelling, clean looking, positive environment that makes you feel comfortable, makes you comfortable being there, the right kind of music. And this is all the stuff that it's kind of my wheelhouse in the business.
Yeah.
I fanatically...
You've curated this space.
Intent. Like, if the music's not on, what's going on? Like, turn the music on, right? And so we've had even, like, all these little fine details, and that was kind of became, for a while, as we became successful, it was a little bit of a hell, because that was my new challenge.
Right.
How to keep this project... Because there are people that will come in and not turn the music on and just don't care. Well, that's fine. But if you have systems, checklists. So the last 4 years, everything at MaxFit's completely, like,
systematized.
Yes. You know, and in fact, if I can automate it where it turns on automatically,
you would do that. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
And so audits for the systems are now, like, our number one thing, because you can have systems, but all that stuff can disappear. Right.
Awesome.
So that's our thing. So we could always improve and get better. So I appreciate acknowledging that, because for me, that's step number one. Like,
absolutely. And I mean, and I could go on and say that you walk in there and you feel the energy. You really do. And it's
because we're all energy beings.
Absolutely. Man. Absolutely. And it's pretty incredible. Again, skin's tightening, because that's, you know, one of the affirmations that I tell myself before walking in is, you know, when I walk into work, I feel the energy the minute I step in.
Sure.
Because that's the culture I want to breed.
Of course, yeah.
And it's pretty cool. You know, you touched on empathy, and empathy is one of our core values.
Is it? Great,
and it was at a certain point in business, again, when it comes down to awareness, and, you know, at your own time, But fortunately for me, I have good coaches and mentors, and
Sure. Yeah.
and they really, drive home the ideas of core values and company culture. And we took that very serious, and we finally got to the point when we ourselves are hiring, and I don't want to say firing because we're not trying to fire anyone, but
No,
we're holding people accountable.
So I don't know if you ever. I don't blame you if you haven't, but I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of like podcasting. It's not to the extent of what you're doing. Congratulations. But
No, you're doing great. And by the way, I was going to plug it in too. That's part of the Empire. Is the actual
we kind of, that's the Empire.
Brian Meek. Shout out Brian.
Yeah,
man.
Brian Meek Marketing. Yeah, we're so freaking busy. It is, as you know, a time commitment. So but really, what we wanted to get out was a book that really transformed hit myself initially, and I passed it on to him. But it's called, it was by Jim Collins, From Good to Great. It's a case study. And I don't want to beat that to death. We did a whole series on it.
Yeah.
But the thing is like hire slow, fire quick, right? As part of one of their tenets. And what Jim says, and it helped me a lot, because I would, if I had to fire somebody, even if they were stealing from me, I couldn't sleep all night long.
I hear you.
And because we have empathy for people. Like, what is this guy or girl going to do,
Yeah.
And when I read the chapter about, it addressed hire slow, fire quick, and getting the wrong people out. And if you have cancer in your arm, you have to cut it off, right? And a cancerous person that doesn't want to be at your business will cancer the whole team, and then you're going to have 10 times more problem. But what Jim said in a chapter was that, like, you're doing this person a favor. And I always think about that. Say if Biff works for me and he's just cancerous, doesn't show up, talks bad about my company, envious or whatever his problem is, doesn't want to work or is going through problems at home, you're extracting them or firing them or letting them go from your business. Let's Biff actually fully actualize what's going on in his life. And we're all self-governing beings. So like if Biff goes on and becomes a cancer someone else, that's his problem, not yours. But at the end of the day, it gives Biff an opportunity to look at himself and say, hey, you know what? I wasn't happy there. Maybe I need to go back to school. I always wanted to be a cop. Yeah. I want to be an EMT. And MaxFit was just like a babysitting spot.
Set them free set them free to follow their...
I can't tell you, after 20 years of doing this almost, many people have came back who left.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me. I realized I needed to, take life seriously. I moved with my parents, so it's actually a positive thing. So we are, one thing that I can sleep well at night is we're very clear. Like if you don't make it at MaxFit, and I hate to say that not everybody does, right?
Sure.
But we're very clear initially. It's like when you get into a relationship, right? Like, oh, I love long walks on the beach and going out to dinner every Friday night. When you come home tired and and that's what my wife and I, we met. We didn't lie to each other initially, like create this. So we try not to lie to our employees either. It's
very nice,
structured. We go over like our employee handbook. We go over our core values. We go over like what the expectations are. It's not just standing around selling supplements. A lot of cleaning. Are you cool with that? They agree. We show them all the stuff. Oh, I'm fine with that. So if you're fine with that and you don't like it down the road, the agreement was already understood. Yeah. And I'm sure there's always things that could be done better, and people, we do the best we can to accommodate everything.
We do the best we can.
Yeah. If you want a vacation every 2 weeks, and that's on you. I think there's maybe jobs that can absorb.
Sure.
But we like to set like a master schedule as best as possible, with an acknowledgement that people have lives and families, and so it's a fine balance.
Sure.
And if it becomes unbalanced, you do what you have to do, and it's done with respect. If someone's stealing from me, it's not. I don't have to disrespect you. We part ways real quick, but if it's something simple, there's a time and place, but that's, I think, has to do with the type of retail store. It's it's more limited in terms of length of, especially your retail sales or smoothie makers. So you have to acknowledge that, train them, and I think we were talking about, you and I were talking about the discipline hopefully that MaxFit provides. That's the only way for us to survive. will hopefully rub off on some people.
Yeah.
Because I do think we live in an undisciplined society.
Right.
Hopefully I'm not.
No, dude,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Man, you know?
So if you learn something from the discipline, the structure, the procedures, the policies, and fortunately I can't really bend them, because if I bend them for anybody, I got to bend them for
you
all.
can't. That's why they're the standards, right?
Yeah. And that was been the hardest thing, is maintaining those standards.
Yeah.
And like, that's my thing now. I'm like, I do not flinch on standards.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And I think that was the hard part for me.
For everybody,
for everyone, right? Yeah. And you know, being that I'm newer, I have a team of and I'll ask you the same question in a minute. I have a team of, there's 7 of us, right? And it's worked out well, just because I think because of casting the vision, which I want to totally get into with you, and creating that buy-in and alignment with your team.
Sure.
But one of the hard transitions that I'm still, you know, dealing with, and it's a good thing. It's good problems, because we have open communication, and extreme ownership, where I recognize that it's my own doing.
Yeah.
It was the fact
I was going for some Jocko, but wrong company.
But the thing is it's we didn't have those systems in place year 1.
Yeah.
We didn't have them halfway through year 2. So then it's okay. We need to get this thing going here, and so we started implementing.
You probably won't be around for year 5 or 6 unless you.
Absolutely,
you did, right?
absolutely, and thank God we did, and you know, we did have some things, but nothing written.
Sure. The
standard was constant. We would move the standard around.
Well, I think systems take a long time to develop. So, you know, journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But you're not going to come up with the perfect system right off the bat, and it does need to be
tweaked
for the better.
Yeah,
if you identify a problem, like unintended consequences of that system, you can't be so rigid to
not adjust, not pivot.
But eventually, after a while, you'll know when you're
dialed in. Yeah, and even then,
you grow,
it'll
and
grow and it'll change again.
Sure.
Right. And I'm sure you, with the verticals that you've had to constantly, and this is the word that you used, and I love it. You'd had to audit. You had to audit those systems.
So that's a big thing, is in order, you know, I would lose my mind at a 400 square foot store. I'm going to lose my mind, you know, selling 280, 300,000 meals a year, smoothies, you know, and I really like. Social media is awesome. Yelp, I think it's pretty awesome if you have a good standing. I think we have a 4.9, but not everyone. There's a 1% mark off of there for a reason, and that's somebody I don't know, like, you know, and you firmly can't please everyone, but my soul wants to, man. My soul wants to, and I've seen you post about that.
Yeah, man.
And we do our best, including, like, you know, losing money, like, on orders, and, you know, that blatantly is not our fault. Like, you know, shipping people that get their package stolen, really it's out of our hands. It's UPS, they could file a claim. I'm gonna lose that customer, man. Like, I'm gonna be bummed if I got a car part, like, or food or whatever, and it stole it, and then they're gonna default. They're not gonna default to UPS that left it on your front porch. They're going to call us, right? Who's going to pay? I pay for it. We pay for it. The team pays for it. So,
because you said something again there that I think it's very relatable, and to myself, and also I'm sure to a lot of the listeners, and that's, you know, I am innately I'm a people pleaser.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
And call it through, you know, my own childhood traumas and everything else. Right.
Sure.
And it's something that's been incredibly difficult to balance out and to, you know, basically to overcome, is this concept that not everyone's going to love you. You know what I mean? You're not going to please everyone. There's going to be that, you know, those people that just for whatever reason don't get it or whatever. Right. And I'm sure that as you grow and as you progress and as you know, climb up and have different verticals and everything else, it's, you know, you're going to have more, you have to have a better grasp on that concept.
I think there is an element of me having to examine every time there is a complaint or whatever.
Absolutely. The bigger you grow and the more customers you're going to take in,
sure,
the more likelihood and more possibilities for a negative review to come in, to, you know, just have customer service issues, whatever it is. That's just
Sure.
part of the deal. And overcoming that, how do you look into that?
So, I mean, just like anything else, we systematized how we pretty much do everything at MaxFit Empire Industries. So what we do is we sit down and like look at the overall review complaint, see if it's a legit review, because unfortunately there are opportunities for competitors or fake bad reviews or whatever. Former employee that for whatever reason was disgruntled. And if it's a legit review, we look in the mirror and see how we could actually fix the situation. And I believe you came across a similar situation. We handled it the same. We reach out to the person, and it's not always an email.
Right.
That's the last resort.
Yeah.
It's get on the phone and like, hey, what can we do?
Yeah.
And then we don't just like pacify the person. We try to learn and grow from the situation. So if it's a shipping error or a missing item or a person got the wrong item, whatever the complaint is, we try to fix it. And what kind of processes, or maybe we have to adjust or tweak a system that we have.
Right.
Whether it's another sign-off sheet that somebody triple checks. That's how we grow. So at any time, like feedback, bad reviews are typically not wanted, or never wanted, really. But for me, they're an extreme. They trigger extreme growth opportunities.
True.
And then like, I still have. There's one guy, like, we changed our meal plans because we had so many massive amounts of meal plans that I wanted to automatize. It was a big.
Right.
It was started to get something. I started very small, and it grew so massive that we needed to change it to more of a like something that you could store on your phone. There's a lot of like layers that we needed to eliminate, so we had to make a tweak. And somebody left me a 1-star review saying, that was the only reason they came.
They wanted that one.
Yeah. Well, that was they felt frustrated for good reason. We already had a process of changing it, and
right.
I mean, it definitely was unintended. And, I see the guy come in every day. The 1-star review is still there, but what can I say? But
right.
What's more important is they still come in and they shop and they're happy with our service, right? They might have even forgot about the 1-star review. It might have been reactionary. I don't think the general population realizes how people that actually care about their business, how much like it causes. I mean, you're talking like, for me, it's like if I get a notification, Google reviews or Yelp, like I get like a sense of anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. We're ripping everything apart, like looking for our car keys, how I could fix this. But at the end of the day, there's always, it's, like going back to good to great. You don't always look at the shiny top of a rock. You have to lift it up.
Yep.
You have to audit, like, hey, is this a legit complaint? I mean, during COVID, there was a guy, Gaspari Nutrition, like, couldn't get the bottles they normally had because of like supply issues. And then some guy said, like, there's one review says I'm selling fake creatine, not realizing that for me to manufacture fake creatine would like cost more money than it would be. Like I bought 6 of them because there was like no bottles at the time in the middle of COVID or supply chain issues.
Yeah.
But people just don't understand how like the bricks and mortar, and I don't understand everything about everyone else's business, but they were frustrated. I do wish that people would pick up a phone and so that prompted things. So anytime there's a negative thing, I have suggestion boxes now all around.
Yeah, because you want that feedback.
You're looking for it. But like maybe we can nip it in the bud. It shouldn't have to end up on social media.
Right.
I know some people, it's their power.
And then more and more.
It does work because
gets your attention.
Yeah, it puts a fire under my ass. But with that being said, you can get a hold of me anytime. I try to be very, very open on available on like my own social media. Like I get a DM, I went in, I got a smoothie that's icy. Credit. Oh, no worries. What's your telephone number? Credit. We'll see what's going on. We'll care about. Does somebody need some new training? Because like even these, to get the texture on them, you'd be surprised. Like the smoothies, it takes like, you have to be very precise with, like the amount of ice, whatever ingredients. And
there's a system to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Else. Yeah.
So it's crazy how the world works, but to the people that last, focus and they're passionate about these systems.
That's it.
And never, when I was sitting under an underpass drinking a 40 ounce, did I think I'd be passionate about smoothie systems?
Yeah, and here we are, right?
Yeah, right. So,
I'll take a sip.
But it does feel good to do things right, man. You know, so that's all I got to say.
Yeah, and that's important, and that's, I mean, even, you know, we're talking smoothies, but the reality is that that's what ultimately we want, right? We want to, you know, you could get lucky once, right?
Sure, yeah.
And you could bust out a
broken clock. It's on time once a day, right? Or twice
and so
a day, yeah.
it's the systems that allow for the consistency, and that's what we're looking for. And so as you grow, you know, I imagine that letting go and stepping further away from the day-to-day of the business, since you were so involved in the beginning, and obviously you're still available, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But as you kind of step further and further away, it's the systems, I imagine, that allow for you to be able to work on the business, especially with multiple locations. I mean, that in itself is, it's going to, I mean.
Sure. So it's about systems in team development, having core direction, core values, and then constant training. But, you know, this is a conversation I was having with somebody, a sales rep actually, the other day. And we do rely on, for a while, let me walk that back. I was like so fanatically trying to build these systems. Not just me, the whole team knew that's what we needed, the leadership team. Yeah. We all did it together, right?
Perfect.
And we built systems, and we sat down and figured out like what the needs were and tweaked and bent as needed. And a lot of it was like Henry Ford kind of stuff. Like, hey, not necessarily Henry Ford. It was stuff that came from my wife. It was Kaizens, you know, Japanese, like took Henry Ford's model to the 10th Henry Ford's assembly line model on steroids, which was everything is right there. If you need a wrench, it's right here. So the smoothies went through the Kaizen.
Nice. We
Kaizen them, the every aspect of our business, from cash handling to payroll, from the smoothies, which had the greatest impact, right? Meaning like everything has a place, and the staff was heavily involved. I can't tell you how to make the best smoothie from my office. The staff can tell you, hey, you know, like we need to have the peanut butter right here because I'm walking across, you know, the smoothie bar to get the peanut butter when it should just sit right here. And we just put everything where it needed to be and then maintain it. So you still need the right people, man. So, but the point is that you can't just rely on systems. You have to have the right people and plug and play. So it's like being successful entrepreneur is like, like camel through the eye of a needle, brother. I hate to, is that blasphemous or whatever. There are so many freaking angles that can make or break you, right? You can have all the right systems. And I think that's kind of what we're going through in America today. There's plenty of businesses that have put the camel through the eye of the needle, but don't have the right people.
Right.
And like you go in there and they have proven brands, proven products, great build outs, and somebody's on, you know, bad energy.
Right.
They're not like empathetic today. I got out of my car, I walked.
They're not in alignment.
I'm a human being that's got a heartbeat. You're not in alignment. Yeah. So, and that's the biggest challenge. And I think, you know, that is the future for us, right? Like, you know, once we've, you know, won one battle with the systems, which is a tremendous battle, man.
Right.
Now it's about like, you know, me walking back and maybe not being so freaking uptight, because I'm very uptight when it comes to my baby, right?
Sure,
like,
of course.
But like trusting the system, but checking in. So
audits,
but also we fell into something called traction years ago, and we do traction meetings. They're very structured meetings. And then I need clarity in my life all the time. So like every night I get what helps me to function as a normal person on a lesser stress level, happier life for me. When I'm stressed, I more micromanage. When I'm less stressed, with clarity, I can let things go on cruise control to a certain degree, right? And I could be, my role as a CEO of a company is more like a visionary. Yep. And that's what traction taught me. Right. There's the visionary person. Like I thought right? Yeah. VI, visionary integrator. Yeah. I'm not an integrator, dude. I'm a visionary person. Yeah. That's what made me want to open the store. It's how I trogged along for 10 years because I had vision. Without that vision, passion, drive, I never would have trogged along because the numbers didn't match my dreams, right? Now that the numbers are there, I have people behind me. I have some.
That's perfect.
Meek's part of it. He's training other people. Like he's pretty good, damn good integrator. Yeah. He's visionary too. So we're finding other elements of people that are more integrator type. Cynthia, awesome general manager, is very much an integrator. But these people back me up, and they give me reports every day. I get food loss reports, which are minimal. If there is I don't know, for us, it's very minimal, like for a restaurant type. But if there's 20 meals go bad one day or on the road to getting bad, we even have systems for day before, 3 days out, 2 days out, we can try to get them out the door. I hate food waste on a human level.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like if there is food waste, then we could tweak things on the fly, not after the fact, not when I'm looking in the garbage can and there's 100 meals in there.
Yeah.
So I can move ahead of time. I'm ahead of the game. I know my profit margins every day. I know my payroll expense every day. If things are trending down, what I need to do, I need to put money into ads. I need to post more. I can pivot on a dime right now, and that brings that clarity of understanding. I get it not every day. I try to I could get it every day. I need to rest my mind on the weekend.
Right.
But I get Monday morning, I get the report from the numbers on the weekend.
Yeah.
And so we do audits on everything. Somebody needs to know every aspect of business. I have audits, like camera audits, theft audits, whether it's from internal, external. Those are all given to me on a daily level, and it's actually pretty brilliant. And I don't know how I survived this.
That sounds incredible. How long did it take to develop the machine? I mean, it's the whole. It's just been
19 and 3/4 years.
Yeah, right.
Man. Yeah,
that's incredible.
So yeah, I mean, that's something I would recommend, especially every business is different.
Sure,
you probably might not need that, right?
Oh,
but if why would I sit at home? I could get these closing reports.
Right.
I can get the food loss. I can get the next morning the numbers come in. If we're trending down quickly, is it a bad employee that's ignoring customers?
We were just talking about that with my office manager, and it's the same thing. It's I don't need to go there, but I mean, I got to the point where I'm time blocking every hour of the day, and this is new. I don't want to sound like I'm a pro at it, right?
No, I mean, who
but
is?
The thing is because
process,
it was auditing my personal systems that it helped me identify that I was lacking in this area. So by time blocking, then I could maximize my hours instead of trying to create time. I'd rather invest in the time we already have. Sure. But in doing that, I discovered some holes in my bucket, and part of that was when it came to maximizing effort into the areas in business that were lacking, because again, it was because I wasn't looking at those you use the term, but basically the information that you're being given by your team at the end of the day, or the reports, reports and
closing reports.
And it's, I realized that while we're maximizing our leads and job flows coming in from internet leads or from pay-per-click ads or from direct referrals, I'm like, well, I could be using my time here to be focusing more on, on some of the, basically making those adjustments as you need to on the fly.
On the fly, right? Before it's too late.
Yeah, before it's too late.
Sure.
And, it's never ending, man. There's just so much involved, right?
Yeah, and I think you can't drink the ocean. Right. You're a human being.
Yeah.
You have to give yourself some grace, which I'm not good at. And
Right.
this allows me to give myself some grace. And if you want to get into imposter syndrome and stuff like that, I suffer from that even till today, which I think is not the worst thing.
Right.
You ever see me strutting around town like I'm all that in a bag of chips?
No.
Slap me, dude. I got to earn every customer that comes through my door.
Yeah.
I really do. And for me, this clarity I get, and I'm not so stressed out. If you were to come in, I could talk to you now, and I'm not, because sometimes I don't think people understand I'm not victimizing us, but the shoulder, all the stress we have, and that could reflect in your outward personality.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's a time in my life where I think, I lost my happy-go-lucky self. I think people came to visit me because I always knew about their families. I generally bonded with them. It wasn't fake, because we know a lot of people. I know a lot of people from those early days, more so than now, unfortunately, because I don't have the time to sit on the retail floor. But I still know a ton of my customers. Yeah. And it was done with generally caring about people, and you lose that if you start getting stressed out. Yeah. So the all this clarity that I need, a lot of it. So you want to ask this Brian works other places, right? Big companies.
Yep.
He took the stuff they do and incorporated it in MaxFit.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that, because I didn't come up with that stuff, man. Full acknowledgement, but it helps me now. It works.
Oh, absolutely.
It works. You put gasoline on it, right? Traction was an employee that I had, brought it, brilliant guy, brought it to our attention. We just used it, and now that's like our main.
Yeah, and that's pretty incredible. Just to think that you had an employee that brought that high level, because that's what it is. It's high level content.
Like he thought that would help, and we dove straight into it. And like, I was not a meeting guy. I'm like, I was the guy that was on the floor. Meetings are a waste of time. You would find me at every one of my stores, like changing light bulbs, like painting the wall. Yeah. Serving customers. There's nothing wrong with that, but like, if you're not watching my job has evolved. My responsibility is to make sure everything's getting paid, make sure everyone, all the insurance is up to date, everything, and or having people that report that to me, and then making sure that I'm thinking about bigger dreams and bigger goals. And like, part of like what I need, and I think we talked about that earlier, I do have like an addictive personality, so I need to get high. I'd never really been into drugs at all, drank myself a river in my day, but it's been a long time, fortunately. But I need to get high. So when we bought this German like shrink wrap machine, it's the fear going up to it. It's like $250,000, and then you bought it, and like, you see the product, and you see the food waste go down to nothing, and then your brand looks like something when you buy a meal.
It's prestige.
That was a year or something in the making, and it was a huge investment. That money that we had saved up, and that was actually a natural high, like that no drug can replace. So, but like any high, what's next? I mean, that machine is like the Honda I bought. I gotta get something else, right? So, I mean, I guess it's kind of a capitalistic high. Not everyone loves capitalism, but I think, for me, there's no question about the need for that. Like, you and me going out there and providing a product that, we are profitable, and it's our responsibility to our staff, the community. Like, I can't go to the air show and donate money.
Absolutely.
Which is an air show, brings in hundreds and hundreds of thousands
of dollars. Huge event for the community.
Through people that volunteer either their time or give funds to like go join a president's club or whatever, go to the Mavericks thing. We're having a great time. It's awesome. But there's a lot of people like that are hard work,
absolutely.
And
Same thing.
Salinas is like massive for giving back.
We're heavily involved with,
I know you are,
like the rodeo, for example.
Congrats on your award too, man. Go on with that.
Thank you. Huge, I appreciate that.
Well deserved.
And that was cool to receive, because one of our other core values is philanthropy.
Sure.
Because I love
it should every. Business, small or not,
absolutely.
There are small things you could do on the get-go.
You could do a lot, and it doesn't have to be these drastic, these huge donations. And all that. I think
that's what people get scared. Like, I can't afford it, but I think once you do, you're blessed.
Oh, absolutely. And what it's done for us, I mean, ultimately, it's once we identified, and it didn't take long. I knew I wanted to give back the minute I went into business, and I think honestly, I mean, the way that call it God, universe, or source, whatever you want to call it. It's setting that intention that's allowed us to just kind of boomerang it all back, right, and allow us to do what we do. And it was important for me to list that as a core value, just because simply I wanted my team to know that it's because of them that we're able to have the impact that we have. So to be recognized, we were awarded a minority-owned business of the year, and that's cool. It's great. And it was a good accolade for the team, and let them know that they won that award, which is incredible. But going back to the giving back portion, it doesn't have to be these grand gestures, right? But even then, I just had my guys. We were a little slow one day. I had them out, and we were out there handing dictionaries to third graders in the community, and things like that. Cool. But it's all tied together, man.
Sure. I think it's an obligation that you have, right? Yeah. Because if without your core customers or the community at large, the healthier the community that we have, the more, if you want to talk about it, the more people are going to be around to use your services, and you're giving some of that money back that people are investing in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just going to like, like consumer goods
Right,
or something,
right.
and there's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself, in my opinion, but it definitely feels really darn good. And there, like we just did something with the
I saw it with
foundation,
yeah,
and it's
the
mobile
mobile
clinic.
Yeah.
And I identify with that because, like, I'm married to a nurse.
Yeah.
I've the Salinas Valley health insurance,
Yeah.
but there was times in my life where majority of my life, half my life, I didn't have insurance, including back in the cage,
Yeah.
or where I was married at that point, but early on in my, like if I got sick, man, I was swallowing vitamin C and garlic and whatever, and, and 20 Advils or something,
the old vapor rub, man.
Right. Yeah. Just to show up to work, puking in the freaking garbage can.
Yeah.
So I can identify, I can relate with people with no insurance that have real bills, and there's not the opportunity to stay home and sleep in, and you have to get out there and whatever you're doing. So that's something that kind of tug at my heart, and we're going to triple down even more on it. And
it's awesome.
We'd love to see more people. It's the Salinas Valley Health Foundation and the mobile clinic and all the funds you raise that they raise or raise via together that go towards the mobile clinic.
Yeah.
More great opportunities like that. So
that's awesome.
Whatever you're pulled to, there's a lot of great things to do.
Yeah, there's an endless supply of that for sure.
Always need.
So let me ask, visionary. And so I did that, I took the test.
Oh,
and I wasn't surprised, but I'm both.
Okay, good.
I think I was actually 85.
Which it says like nobody's one thing or the other. Yeah,
85
visionary.
integrator.
Oh, integrator.
And 82 visionary.
Sure.
And it's funny because I feel like as I progress,
22, what'd you say?
82
integrator.
No, 82 visionary.
Okay.
85 integrator.
Okay.
And like I said, we were talking off air, and I did come from an operations manager position.
Sure. Yeah.
So my job had always been to integrate or implement what the ownership was asking for and what the board wanted, that kind of thing. So I've always had that, but at the same time, I've always wanted to cast my own visions and that kind of thing. But it's funny, it's interesting as I evolve as a business owner, I could see that swaying the other way. But like they say, you can't. It's very rare that one person can do both greatly, is what they say.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe it's time to go back and ask myself those questions again.
Maybe add like whether it's your spouse or is that what you're thinking, like, or having a CEO type, and that's a tough thing because I never like CEO is such a word that just thrown around like this,
right. Everyone's an entrepreneur. Everyone's a CEO.
But CEO is a specific thing, and I thought it was like really like a COO, really more. That's what I thought the role of the CEO, and it turns out that I'm 100% like CEO, and I need to actually, and a lot of things take away from my shine that I'm supposed to do as a CEO, meaning higher level connections, being a visionary. So if I'm in the weeds of like getting notifications every 5 minutes that Biff is late, good old Biff again,
old Biff.
Yeah, Biff caused me problems again. But I don't necessarily need to hear all that, but I need to get reports. So like it came to the point where like I had to, because everything was on my phone. I don't need notifications. What I need to do is like, I need to know that I have a problem child or whatever that can't show up, but do I need to know right there and right then? Or can I get a report and then like what and we have like policies for what happens at that point, and it's clear cut. It's everyone's late. I'm freaking late every once. I was late today for that matter, right? Misread my calendar. Right. So we're humans, but there's a certain amount.
Sure.
That's tolerable for me to be doing this and anybody else. So as long as that's happened, I'm cool. And then I could go be the CEO and not have all that outside noise.
Yeah, keeping you from doing what you're meant to be doing.
But I'm like I'm very little integrator, man. So
so as a visionary in your position now with the three, the three storefronts, the multiple verticals, and the desire to continue to grow, right? How do you how did you cast this vision with your team to get the buy-in? Obviously, as you said earlier, there's a lot to do with the person, having the right people in place.
Sure. So what we rely on is like these team meetings help with the buy-in and help with the understanding, and it keys people in on the key players, like your leadership
Right,
team.
right.
And the leadership team
trickles
down,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then, you know, it's quite frankly pre-COVID, and I think this is the same with like everybody out there. We had a lot of the stuff in place that crumbled, and it's really taken a long time to get our momentum back, but we were committed over the years because, you know, been a while, almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
But, you know, setbacks can throw you back
Absolutely
greatly. But brick by brick, we're at the point where we reinstituted all this great stuff from traction, because that's when a lot of the stuff, you know, about a year or two before COVID is when a lot of the stuff started, like that employee was around coming up, started implementing it. So, yeah, I mean, these traction meetings, it's personal. It allows me, you know, the vision a lot of times is like me reiterating on a daily basis how important things are. You know, it's not always like rah team.
No, you gotta.
Hey man, we really gotta like toughen up on certain areas, and we cannot be flexible. Because this is why. Well, and if there's pushback, we fight it out. And I'm certainly not always right, you know. But so like the traction meetings, and then like I have meetings throughout the week with the different team members, depending what they are, and then like the supervisor does give like one-on-ones with the retail staff, and then like we set sales goals. The sales goals are also often like 99% of the time attributed with some sort of like bonus for the team, whether it's like you know, spiff or something.
Sure.
But like me getting back to like where we were pre-COVID is getting me back to like negotiating a lot of like deals on certain things, which I actually like to enjoy, because it's a form of winning, and really, you know, and so like getting deals from like supplement companies, and or even like employee rewards from supplement companies that like, or, you know, it's different aspects of like running the business, but it's you know, it's all has to do with meetings based on data, and like being in these meetings, they're involved. The traction meetings have an element of personal. They always start off with, you know, well, how's your weekend? Like, how's your week going? And, you know, takes the time to take a deep breath, get to know the people you're working with, what's going on in their personal lives, you know, to a certain degree, you know, like, oh, we're at the beach, or we're going on vacation, or whatever. It's cool. And then let them know they're happy. And then, and if there's any issues. So the traction meetings are, you know, what's new goes into issues, you know, all your previous issues. It goes into like deliverables, like what is this brand working on? Like, you know, we actually have altered them a little bit. We have our long-term goals, like BHAGs, big hairy audacious goals, like new equipment we're purchasing. So I know it's like a machine that's like on the march all the time. Things are always changing. Things are always getting scratched off the list. Brian's been really good at running the meetings for a long time, trying to pass the torch off to Cynthia, but like all our accomplishments are kept, but put a red line. So there's like a mile of accomplishment. So it's really like Patton's march to Berlin, you know, like just one battle at a time every day, you know? So, I mean, trying to incorporate a lot more positivity, you know, in that, you know, I think looking in the mirror a lot and not trying to, you know, always be goal driven, but to take a moment, enjoy life a little bit. And I think I have things calm. I can never really do that. I think I can't fake it. When things are a mess, I can't fake it. When they're not a mess, and I need to maintain not a mess by all costs, right? Like, and that means like tough decisions every day. But making these tough decisions myself creates better morale, because like the morale really comes from the top dog.
Absolutely.
You know? And if I'm not happy, like, and nobody's happy, and like a lot of times people realize if they stick around that I'm not happy, it's because of a reason, you know, and I won't back down from that. You know, I'll stand here every day getting punched in the face until the change is made to fight for the brand. So, but I think we have we have people that have been through war with us, so to speak, and they stuck around, and they now see the bigger vision. And I think that's like, hopefully it benefits them long term as a human. And like, again, that comes from, I think, just like how great it is in America a lot. And I'm not saying it's great for everybody, man. I know. But the opportunity to be great is certainly present for everybody here, man. Like, social media is a great equalizer. No one can shut you out. You can pick up your phone and start a brand, and you can do great things quickly like you, or you can do good things slowly like me. I don't, so.
Yeah. And for me, I'd just be remiss to not mention, I mean, we've done a lot in a short amount of time.
Sure, yeah.
But we haven't even scratched the surface yet either. And it's because of our environment, who we surround ourselves with, what we consume, and investing in yourself in personal development and reading the right books. Good to great. I have it in audiobook. I just got it like last week.
Yeah, it's not the sexiest book.
Some of them aren't.
Yeah. I think, I made some kind of controversial, I think you saw it too, is like I miss the days where men invested in real businesses, not mindset groups. Some people took it the wrong way, and I talked to them about it. And I think the thing is that there's a lot of info out there, right? And you have to be really careful.
Yes.
And I think that was the point where there's a lot of people that I know, that have been exposed for really, it's another element of making money by peddling wrong advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm getting to the point, and I typically avoid the weeds and stuff like that, but I'm at the point where the really only way to really get it, you gotta learn from yourself, and you gotta show up, and you're gonna make freaking tons of mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty. It's boring as shit. It's like doing.
Yeah.
It's
time blocking,
and Kaizening smoothie bars.
Yeah.
But how great! It's like I love my old cars because they break all the time. They're old. Mine are 70, 80 years old, and I could drive them to New York and back, and it's like keep the machine running, because I've tightened every bolt.
Yeah.
I fixed the glass personally. You have to change the oil it's not like a new car that you could drive turnkey. And business is not like a new car. It takes a lot. You have to, from the plants in front of your store, if your guests, maybe not in your case, or maybe your reception room where your clients, you can't have dirty stuff on the floor, your son's toys out or whatever, even though it's cool to incorporate your family. My family's been there the whole time. I'm not saying that's going on, but the details freaking matter.
Yeah.
And it's not all hustling. It's a lot of it's really focusing on the nitty gritty, not fun, long hours, stress,
the unsexy
losing
stuff.
money, having some, spend money on a podcast that brings you awareness. This is a visionary thing, dude.
Yeah.
You probably got a million other things to do right now, but sit here and talk to me. But this is actually bringing awareness.
Absolutely.
I'm going to share this on your page, on my page. I'm going to be stoked. Anyone else who does this podcast, some cool people, connections, and early on, I think it was the perfect day formula. It had an element of the book. Hopefully I'm not misreading it, but or misquoting it, but I think there was an element of just bigger connections. CEOs make connections. So Rosa Parks, I mentioned her specifically. A lot of people had done the exact same thing, sat at the front of the bus, went to jail, no one heard about them. They got away with their bullshit or whatever. Rosa Parks hems everybody's sweet lady, hemmed the judges that handled the case, her daughter's prom dress, or his daughter's prom dress. What? Not Rosa. So it was that connection with the community that actually made the difference and stopped all that. And that's why she's notorious for making that huge stand, which is courageous. But she wasn't the only one, but she was the one that had that community connections. And it's all layered in the community. So if I see you and you're getting a smoothie, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? And then I'm at the president's tent and I'm cooler than everybody. What an asshole. He's only getting my money. We all got to watch. We're all bond together. And I think that's where this is a brilliant move, a visionary move. And I think it's just the right thing to do, to hear people's story, because you can learn from everybody. And I think
absolutely,
I think there's a lot of fluff that's sold. It's entrepreneurship is almost like rock star status. It's really not like being a rock star. I don't even think being a rock star is being a rock star. It's a lot of work too, I'm assuming, But anyways, that's I want to tread lightly with that, because I think this is a form of marketing here. It's the real marketing. It's the network marketing thing here.
It's relationships.
Yeah,
it's
and a lot of times I haven't been able to go to chamber stuff, and I don't get any awards or whatever. That's fine. I don't even get even talked to at all. Unless they want my money.
I'll talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, no. Unless they want my money, they talk to me. But the fact of the matter is, most people that are I haven't gone because I've been working my ass off, right? And my number one priority is the customers who walk
Absolutely.
through my store. So
There, no, and yeah, thank you for that, because it's true, and I'm realizing that as as I go through and evolve and become more confident and overcome my own imposter syndrome and limited beliefs.
if you ever do,
I don't think I ever will, but
yeah, if you do,
we just kind of learn how to deal with it, right?
I guess you get comfortable in your own skin.
That's it, and that's where I'm kind of getting at is.
And the only way to get over imposter syndrome is by knowing you're freaking doing everything right.
That's it.
And if you show up to work and you know that you're wasting time, which I do.
Yeah.
This right here, blocking off your time.
Yeah.
Being that savage, having the community talk about you when you're, whatever people say about you and when you're not around, and hopefully people say good stuff about me when I'm not around. But like my goal is to have a solid reputation via my products, via the team, not getting like any is the very least issues. And then that's how I'll know that I'm not an imposter, because I'm doing my job, because that is like putting that camel through the head of a needle, dude, like getting all these things in line. And that happens with any business. So the more years of doing things right, I feel less like an imposter. I don't want to be cocky. I want to be humble. I don't want to feel like an imposter. And are there times where I slack off or get distracted, squirrel, and go start doing too much cart stuff? And sure, but there's triggers. I can see a bad week, and I'm cars parked, man.
All of a sudden, you're back in it. No, for sure. And that's it. It's, slowly but surely, and it's going to be, the rest of my life journey.
Lifelong journey, man.
Right?
Good, man.
But what I do realize is the more credibility I build, and not out there, but in here and in here.
Credibility is important everywhere, I think. I think there's a, not to interrupt you, man. I think it's important. It's important to me what people think of me. There's always elements. I don't give a fuck what people think about. I deeply care about what the community thinks of me. And I can't. It's one of those things I can't control, because once you start doing pretty good, there's someone who's actually intentionally not going to like that element of you. So again, you got to audit that, like the bad review. But as a general rule, the way I know about, I can see posts, I can see people wearing my stuff. People talk about me, my food. There's nurses, doctors. One major ad company, the wife comes in, and it's all, they come in, and institutions, people that all started with some grandpa or great grandfather, simple guy like you and me, just creating a product, and was fundamentally driven to make it success by fundamentally focusing on the details and their reputation. And I will always be that little boy that used to have to hide on the roof when my parents were fighting and look at the stars and trying to dream. And I think that's created, whether I was a visionary then.
Well, that was part of it right there.
Right. That created that vision. So me going to Europe, because I had this fantasy of I didn't dislike America, but I wanted to go to Swiss Alps. And my mother gave me this atlas for my 16th birthday, and it had this Swiss. I didn't know it was Switzerland. It just had this mountainous background with this mountain cabin, and I used to stare at it as man, life's a mess. I want to get away. That seemed just go live in a chalet, naive way of looking at the world. I moved, traveled. I ended up working right across the valley from from that place, so, but it was a dream. It was dreaming to get away. And instead of confronting the brutal facts about myself. And I now realize you can be visionary, and that's what business, I can be a visionary. I could dream of having a store with products that are the labels that look just like you would find at a Nob Hill or Safeway. They're commercial. Everything's correct. Everything's dialed in. What I do realize now, though, it takes years. For every little element, that label we worked on for a year. Once a week, we had a label meeting, back and forth with graphic designers and paper. So
those details, right?
But it's that longer sacrifice. It's the long game of that's what builds the imposter, the confidence and the imposter syndrome kind of start to meet in the middle and go away. But anyways,
no, that's awesome.
It's fun, and it's delayed gratification, man, and that's what we're doing.
That's it.
So I mean, success early is awesome, and I think it's attributed to humility and letting the ego go and like just embracing like the right things. So
absolutely.
yeah.
And as that happens, it's funny, more and more, you know, you become, the level of awareness just keeps evolving and getting greater and stronger. And so you were, you know, when you were talking about the, you know, some of the rock star, you know, the rock star deal with entrepreneurship and people taking advice, I think I'm destined to be vocal about that myself, just as you were, because you see that and it just it becomes painful and painfully obvious of the.
And there's a lot of young kids that
I was one of them. You know what I mean?
Getting misled.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate that I do my homework. I vet my coaches and that kind of thing. But at the same time, I left a coaching program twice because I just felt that it was full of phonies and people taking advantage of other people that are just trying to start and kick off their dreams. Right?
Sure. Yeah. But it's another way to extract money from people. And
absolutely.
I don't know. I know a lot of mentors that they don't charge me a penny, you know, and they do it because they've made all the right choices or
it's their way of giving back.
Made right choices over time.
Yeah.
Made plenty of bad choices. Like, I don't think anyone makes all the right choices. I should refrain that.
Yeah.
But I think that it's something I would want to do, right? Like, you know, once I'm 60 years old, I was going to say 50, but that's like a year away. So 60 years old and, you know, the machine fully operates on its own and we have 20 stores and they're gone out of my hands. Who knows? That's not really ever something I've ever thought about, but the end of the day, like, then I have really value. And then like, why charge for something? It's like, it's a way to really save somebody a lot of like misery. Cause some of the stuff can be really freaking miserable, man. And it creates a lot of trauma, right? Like stress. If you know, that's, I think, and I'm not trying to ever say anything. You could be to the top from here, but who knows? I mean, that we have wars popping off around the world. Gas prices are high. There's always something. I think you're guaranteed. You know, in this country, it's a capitalist country, and I think they do have manufactured cycles. And you're always going to have to kind of like, that's where the awareness of cycles, the data and the clarity of cycles and the clarity of the understanding of your business and like, that was like the first cycle of 2008. I didn't have any clarity, and that was a mistake that you won't fall into, is that I didn't pivot quick enough. I waited. I kept paying my rent. I didn't negotiate my rent. Everyone else probably was. I was like stubborn. I waited to the last protein.
But a lot of people did, right? And that just.
But I will never do that again. I made money in COVID because
you learn from that.
That same day we were changing stuff.
Your willingness to let go of ego and to pivot as needed for the betterment of your company.
And Brian and I and the general manager were making smoothies, you know, and running to the store. And so,
that's wild.
This could be a long podcast. So I know I could talk a lot. So anything else, like, just for the, for you?
You know, this is good. And yeah, man, I'm sure we could keep going.
Got one more bit. You want me to?
Yeah. So let's talk about, with so much already accomplished in just about 20 years, but still, you know, a lot of fuel in the tank.
Yeah.
What's the vision now?
The fuel in the tank is not the money. It's not the success, although I do like having a better understanding of like business as a whole. The creativity and artistic side, the visionary side, I don't think will ever stop for me. Like, so what's next? Like anything else, I got to keep leveling up. We have a brand new website coming, and the reason we have a brand new website, our website's
been on it.
It's fine. It looks really good.
It's good, clean,
but the functionality is not as good as it could be. So another thing, like
another audit.
Yep. You know, bounce rates, and I don't know if you guys work with websites that you're in your business, but like, so you can see like your bounce rate and retention of the customer. So we're redoing our website, and we've contacted former customers, and you know, like every angle of our business has like, we have separate meetings for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have its own traction meeting for like
Each division.
the stores have
or,
traction meetings. The website has a traction meeting, which I'm off to after this. And we're going to try to drop this website. But all the hangups, all the bounce rates, the subscriptions, the ease of the subscriptions when it comes to like being able to change your subscription. Our last website was pretty much locked in. You couldn't change it. We are changing platforms now. We have a much more ease of operating subscriptions. So we're trying to grow our subscription model. So, I mean, the website showed tremendous growth during COVID. It's been really steady, but we realized with our shortcomings and with the data and the audits that we couldn't grow until we made some changes. So basically, it's been on cruise control. We have a lot of loyal customers and picked up a few, but why spend money on ads and marketing until we get these issues? We don't want to bring attention to not the best, like a 7 out of 10 product. We're coming with like a 9 out of 10. And again, it's been almost another freaking year. Yeah. A year seems to be the magic number.
Dialing things in.
Yeah. For me as a visionary, let's get it done like next week.
Yeah.
But it's about a year, man.
The integrators
are
like, hold on.
Labels. Yeah, exactly. That's our meeting.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay, this is what we got.
Which is my dad used to always do. That's my dad's same thing. Slow down.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad, I never slowed down. Which I think he wanted to.
Hey, no regrets.
I think he was the same way. I think it was his way of coping because he was probably, he was probably somebody that had the same energy because it's genetic, I think, and then don't coat your anxiety, don't coat your enthusiasm. And like I'm finding that I need to, like I said earlier, I just need to catch a buzz, dude. And like for me, overcoming obstacles.
Yeah, you're a glutton, my friend.
Yeah. I'm a rock star addict, dude. Like Rolling Stones of getting high, and I get depressed, man. Yeah. If I don't make moves, I'm getting depressed. Like the status quo,
time, right? Stagnation gets you.
Yeah. So it's that fine balance of blocking time by making moves. Blocking time. It's like football. It's a play by play, but the end goal is to win. Yeah. Moving up in leagues or whatever. Yeah. So that's the goal. We have a new website coming out, and then once that kicks off, that's only the beginning. It's off the ground running. That's like we have a bunch of new marketing coming in and outside of the area, and then we need to try to shore up stuff locally as well and keep it fresh. It's always a challenge because marketing always changes. It's like clothing brands, OP when I was a kid, like I had OP, nobody wears OP because you're on top for a while and then you have to change and recreate, and sometimes you have like times where you're not and then you come up again. Right. Ebbs and flows, and that's my advice to anyone, dude. It's like look at it as a marathon. It's not a sprint. Act like it's a sprint. I think acting like having that passion, running
sense of urgency.
Yeah, sense of urgency, but knowing that it's going to take
patience.
That's
a son of a bitch right there.
It is.
Sense of urgency.
Sure.
With patience.
Yep. Explain that to me, Get a definition of that.
Yeah. Kris, man, this has been incredible. There's so much in there, and I'm sure that anyone who listens to it could pick it apart and pick up a lot of gold.
Sure.
I really appreciate your time. How could people connect with you? How can we find your products? I mean,
sure.
Do your thing. And of course, we're going to follow up with a nice description with links and everything else.
Well, many ways. If you want MaxFit Meals, it's maxfitmeals.com. The stores are under maxfitmarket.com. Social media is under Shop MaxFit, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to talk to me directly, I'm MaxFit Founder on Instagram. Pretty easy to find on there. I try to reply to everybody.
It's awesome.
Or if not, just come down the store, Salinas, Monterey, Marina. That's it. Yeah,
awesome.
We want feedback. We want questions. We like to keep a really open dialogue. Me personally. So this conversation, if anything that we covered that you have deeper questions on, just hit me up at MaxFit Founder on Instagram.
Awesome.
I'll certainly get back to you. So.
And one more plug. There is a podcast.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
there
is. Yeah, it's coming back.
It'll come back.
No, it will. We're in a time where like it's like anything else. There has to be a reason. It's a content-based podcast, and we're not necessarily trying to be podcasters, but when we're inspired, and I have my own little podcast. It's not as cool as Mag One's podcast, but yeah, no, it's MF Empire, and there's some great meat on YouTube. A lot of it has to do with Good to Great, just a lot of the stuff we covered in
Nice.
in this
Yeah.
awesome podcast here.
Perfect, man.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you. Keep your you're new. You're not new. We're
newer.
You're just taking the reins of a lot of knowledge that you previously had gained from elsewhere. And I think that's the secret sauce where I missed from my journey. Eventually I caught up. Your ability to learn, and this is not discrediting anything you're going through. This is a brilliant time. Like, full disclosure, none of this stuff exists. YouTube, there wasn't the creators.
Yeah.
And that whole comment of like mindset things, that was meant at people that are profiting. I listen to mindset people, Frisella, Jock, whatever. We probably listen to the same people.
I'm sure we
Whether
do.
you don't like them, there's actually a million people. And I actually moved from one to one,
Yeah.
Get the knowledge and move on.
Yeah.
That wasn't around.
Right.
You had to physically pick up paper and
it's a little easier.
It's not easy. It's
Well, you know
yes,
what I mean.
it's because I'm not trying to discredit.
Right.
Because there's many people in this time that are distracted by playing video games,
Right.
entertainment.
More opportunity.
But there's the guys like yourself. So if you're an entrepreneur, take like meat and potatoes podcasts like this that are not always the cussing and the flashiness. There is some raw stuff out there.
We have some episodes like that too.
Oh, do you? There's nothing wrong with that either. I mean,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite guys cuss like
Right.
my wife will just slap me upside the head later.
Yeah.
That's all. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
and-
that's all. I appreciate it. You're awesome.
Mike,
This is going far, and I'm
and the
happy.
biggest thing, if I may,
course.
and just as to dovetail off what
Sure.
you just said, is you could consume all the content, you could read all the books,
Sure.
you could watch all the YouTubes, but if you're not implementing
Yep.
and give a shit if you're an integrator or a visionary, you know what I mean?
Sure.
If you're not actually putting in
Sure.
the work and you're not,
How the hell do you find out if you're an integrator or a visionary unless you start trying to make shit happen? You learn about yourself by applied action.
that's it,
So,
applied action.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate you
Happy to be here.
and everything that you do for the community and everything that you do for inspiring us youngsters coming into the game, man.
You're welcome, man, and thank you for inspiring me in the process as well. So
Appreciate you.
yep. Ciao.